In any community, whether it's a whole country or just a single classroom, there's this constant balancing act going on. And today, that's what we're digging into. That really delicate relationship between what we're given and what we owe, our rights and our responsibilities.
I mean, we've all been there, right? You feel that flash of frustration when something just feels off, and the first thing you think is, hey, that's not fair. Well, that powerful built-in sense of justice, that's exactly where our story starts. Okay, so to really get this whole balance thing, we gotta start with the first piece of the puzzle. What exactly are rights? Well, at their very core, they're the fundamental freedoms that are designed to protect every single one of us. Think of rights like the official rulebook for a community. They exist to make sure every single person feels safe, they feel valued, and they feel like they're being heard. It's basically the guarantee that says, hey, you matter here. Your voice counts. And listen, these are not just some vague, abstract ideas. In a lot of places, like the United States, they're actually written down and formally protected. We're talking about huge things like the freedom to speak your mind, to believe what you choose, to report on what's happening, and to gather together. These are powerful, real-deal protections that literally shape our entire society. But here's where it gets really interesting. Rights alone aren't the whole picture. For them to actually work, they need a partner. And that brings us to the other half of the story, the balancing act. And this right here is the absolute key. A healthy community, a healthy classroom, it just can't run on rights alone. It's kind of like a game on the playground, right? Everyone has the right to play, but the game only works if everyone also agrees to the responsibility of following the rules. Without its twin, responsibilities, the whole system just wobbles and falls apart.
So the relationship is actually pretty simple when you break it down. Rights are what you get, those are your protections and freedoms. Responsibilities, that's what you give, the actions and duties that make sure those freedoms can actually work for everybody. They really are just two sides of the exact same coin. It all boils down to that classic idea. Your freedom to swing your arms ends right where my nose begins. Using your rights has to come with a sense of care and consideration for the people around you. All right, so let's put this whole idea to the test. We can see exactly what happens when this balance gets all messed up by picturing a really simple scenario we all know, the classroom. Just picture it for a second. A classroom, and it's full of students who know all about their rights to be heard, their right to be treated fairly, but they've completely forgotten about their responsibilities. I mean, what would that even look like? Well, it would probably spiral out of control fast. You'd have one student shouting over everyone else, claiming their right to speak. Maybe another person cuts the lunch line because their time is more important. Then someone else scribbles all over a library book, wrecking it for the next person. And the end result is, well, it's pretty predictable, isn't it? The room would just become awkward, totally unfair, and pretty much chaotic. And in a place like that, even if rights exist on paper, nobody's rights are actually being protected. But, and this is so important, there's a really powerful flip side to this. Acting responsibly isn't just about stopping chaos. It's about building something that's absolutely vital for any school community, and that's trust. When we know people are going to act with care, everyone feels safer, and we feel more confident that the rules are there to protect all of us. Okay, but let's be real. What happens when two people's rights seem to just slam right into each other? This is where it gets a little tricky, and we need a good way to work through these disagreements when people's needs clash. This is such a classic example, right? One person wants to blast their music and celebrate. That's their right to enjoyment. But their neighbor is trying to study or sleep, and that's their right to peace and quiet. So who wins? Well, the answer is a fair society doesn't just pick one winner. It uses one of the most important tools we have, compromise. See, the goal isn't for one person to get absolutely everything they want. The goal is to find a balance that works for the different needs in the room. So instead of just reacting emotionally, we can actually use a framework. We can take a step back and ask a few simple questions. First, whose rights are actually involved here? Second, what responsibility might have been forgotten? And finally, what's a solution that protects the most people in a fair way? This process turns a big conflict into a shared problem we can all solve together. And this whole way of thinking leads us to our last and maybe most crucial point. It's really a call to action. It's about shifting from just complaining about problems to actually being part of the solution. Because at the end of the day, understanding your rights isn't just ammo for complaining when things go wrong. No, It's the power you need to take thoughtful, constructive action when you see something that really needs to be fixed. And these actions don't have to be some huge, world-changing thing. They can be pretty simple. You see litter on the playground? Hey, organize a cleanup. You see someone who looks lonely? Maybe create a buddy system. You think a rule is genuinely unfair? Don't just complain. Respectfully suggest a better way and explain your reasons why. That is what real participation looks like. So let's end on this really powerful thought. A right is a privilege worth protecting, and a responsibility is a duty worth carrying. They're not fighting against each other. They're partners that have to work together to create a community where everyone has a chance to really thrive. So the final question for you is, what responsibility will you choose to carry today?